Breaking down Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Good Monday evening. Welcome into the High School Fan Zone. I'm in a nice, warm, toasty studio on this cold night in Lubbock, Texas on January 19th. It's January. It's supposed to be cold. I'm a Kansas guy, so I'm okay with this, but it sort of sucked me in the nose a little bit when I went outside earlier today. We're not here to talk weather. We're here to talk sports. We're here to talk high school sports, which we do twice a week from Thanksgiving till the end of the school year. Tonight it's going to be Estacado, Monterey, Memorial, and Liberty. And we're going to jump right into the Matador Fan Zone. My friend Tony Wagner is down to the left of me if you're watching on TV. He told me that he almost had to tap out on me because neither one of us realized that the national championship football game is actually getting ready to start. I think it just said in 29 minutes, about 6:30. Mm-hmm. Although it's on ESPN, that could mean 6:30, that could mean 7:30, it could mean anything. But we're going to talk some basketball instead because we're in the thick of the high school basketball season, and Coach Wagner's team is playing really well all of a sudden. My guy that covered the game for me the other night for Hub City Preps texted me. I don't know if he'd seen you guys play or not, but he said they look a lot different than last year, but they're still really good. And I said, see that guy standing up there at the end of the bench? That's a big reason why. But you got some players too.
You do.
Now, I have seen you play. You've got Shakur Wilbon, you've got Andre Langston, you've got two nice building blocks. But what's impressed me, and I told you this the last time I saw you, is your younger guys are starting to figure it out a little bit.
They are. They're growing up right before my eyes. You know, Desmond Dixon and Jerry L. Hawkins, even Big V, the last couple of games.
Really?
Played really, really well. And Jordan Perry. We got some guys that have really stepped up and is helping us grow a little bit as a team.
Last time I saw you was against Liberty, and the thing that stuck out in my mind is, and I texted you about this, I wanted to make sure that next day the guys who had the last two steals had not been in the game, I don't think, until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So now part of that's because of foul trouble, but that gives you a little bit of on the fly depth that you can establish.
That, and then it gave us a little confidence. He played a little more this last game. I was like, I'm not gonna leave him out the whole game this time. And he's still, he's an impact player. Jordan, he's so small, kind of got Napoleon syndrome. You know, when teams try to post him up, I'm like, man, that's not a mismatch. I may think it is. It's not. You know, he's gonna try to fight through that and fight over it and defend it well. And so I've been really proud of him and his leadership so far.
Me and Brennan were just talking about Jet McCaslin, who's playing for LCU. Of course, he's Grant's son. He's maybe 5'5", 5'6". He's kind of an example of what you're talking about. Basketball, yes, height matters most of the time, but in high school basketball, you don't have to be huge. If you play hard and you play with the motor, you're going to get on the court.
Yeah, especially if you're making positive plays while you're out there. You know, he's an energy guy. The other guys don't have any choice but to match his energy while he's in there, or it looks like they're not playing hard. So I can't say enough about how proud I am of Jordan.
And then Vershandrick's the opposite. There's no question that he's a big dude. He looks like he's a really good football player. I'm working on finishing up the HubCityPreps.com all-city football team, all-area football team, and he's obviously on there. But he's kind of like Bobby Ross last year. He's deceptive when he gets out there. He's got some basketball skill. Yeah,
what's crazy, he's probably a better scorer down there than Bobby was. You know, and he's starting to get into some basketball shape. I started him this past game. You know, I think he scored our first 6 or 8 points.
Really? Didn't Bobby do that once last year too?
Yeah.
One of these games about this time.
About this time was Liberty. It was Liberty last year where he kind of got us going a little bit early, and so. With Sandrick, he has very good feet. You know, teams try to ISO him. We don't get any help. We don't switch. You sit down and you guard, and he does a great job of that. In fact, we're clipping up some of his clips right now on the basketball court so we can share them so football coaches can see how well he moves. But he's been outstanding the last couple of games.
What I want to see is, has he taken a charge yet?
He has taken the charge.
Has he? Okay.
He has taken the charge. Now, the refs called it, and the coach was livid because he was like, there's no way we knocked him down, which they're probably right, but at the end of the day, he shouldn't be punished for being a big kid either. He's standing there, he's there, and if he doesn't fall, they're going to call a block on him. So he fell and got it.
You remember a guy named Glenn Davis, Big Baby? I covered him at LSU, and I always thought he got penalized a little bit for being big and nimble because referees didn't believe this guy could move so well and do that. I'm eager to watch Big V play a little bit more now that you're telling me these things. I love those kind of stories. I loved watching Bobby last year, and I told you this a few times. Bobby went from football guy to where he was a basketball player by the end.
Yeah, he played well. I mean, he was a 4-year varsity player in basketball too, and so I mean, it was something that we knew he was capable of, and you know, he ended up finishing the year really strong for us last year.
Well, you guys had no letdown last week after the emotional Liberty game. You beat Levelland and you beat Memorial, and I loved what you told my guy afterwards, because we talked the last time you were on about players and assistant coaches keep getting younger. You're coaching against guys now that have probably either grown up in this area or once they got here started watching you coach and kind of emulated it. CJ Villegas, I know, has talked about watching you and trying to do some of the things. Now you're coaching against him. Kendall Durrett at Levelland, did you coach against him?
I did. He played at Levelland when the year they went to state. He was on that team, so he was a good high school player.
And he's become a good high school coach too.
He's doing a great job as coaching.
What do you like about those two teams that that hopefully got your guys' attention? You won both games by a good margin, but I know you want to get pushed at this time of year because. Well,
like I tell you all the time, I think some of the best coaches in the state are right here in this district. You know, you never know what you're going to get from them. Both of those teams came out very well prepared, scouted us very well. I assume that they feel like Shakur doesn't like a lot of contact, so they're a little physical with him, and he struggled a little bit at first. And so it's one of those things to where he gets to find out those things now rather than later. And that's what district's all about, is trying to find out as much about your team.
I'm glad you said that too, because what I said to him after the I think it was the Liberty game is I think people came into this year, they've seen him shoot. They know he can fill it up. He's become more of a well-rounded basketball player, just what he's done in the summer. You can see that now, and you're right. He's one of those guys that has to, if he's going to go on to that next level, he's going to get beat up a little bit physically, and I don't mean in a dirty way, just the physicality of it.
Yeah, it's the nature of the game, you know, especially the higher level that you play. But he's shown great resolve, and he's adjusted well to those things, and really when they try to play him physical like that, it kind of ticks him off a little bit. So it plays in our favor because he gets kind of zoomed in and he's focused and he's tough to guard. And
he's stone-faced. You don't ever know which direction he's going. So we're coming up on the first break. We'll come back and talk more Estacado Matador basketball in the high school fan zone on 100.7 The Score.
Diving headfirst into Estacado athletics. You're listening to the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back in. I am Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score, the high school fan zone. I meant to call this up. Wag, I want to ask you this first, and then I want to come back to it. Who do you guys have this week?
We have Big Spring.
Just one game.
Just one game.
This is your week where you get to catch your breath a little bit. You've been coaching high school basketball a long time. You could tell your guys, don't be thinking ahead about that second game with Liberty all you want, but you know there's that tendency. How do you keep them locked in on taking care of business this week and then kind of letting their minds relax a little bit after that?
Well, we have different little games within the game, challenges of our guys and expectations of how I want them to play and what goals we want to meet for that game. But then the thing about this year is that we have that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so we'll get to let them rest a day this week, and then also then come back and just work on some things that we need to work on to be better, not only for Liberty but for down the road.
I touched on this a minute ago, and with all due respect to the teams in your district, most years in your district you get in, and for those few weeks you guys don't get pushed a whole lot. You've almost had like a playoff type game already in district, that first game with Liberty. Why is that good for your guys to have a few of those now before you get into the playoffs?
I try to schedule the toughest schedule as I can. You know, I want to learn as much about our guys as possible. You know, and so you can't do that if you're not playing people that can beat you. So every game that I schedule is against a team that I feel like could have the potential to beat us. And so I just want to see how our kids respond and how they're going to fight and what kind of resolve they're going to have, what kind of grit they're going to have, and see how tough they are, to be honest, you know. And that way I know once we get into those situations who can be in the game, who can't be in the game, who needs to handle the ball, who doesn't need to handle the ball, who needs to shoot it, who don't need to shoot it. And so it's just all part of the process. process.
Did you see some of that in that game with Liberty? Did you see it pay off?
I did. I saw those sophomores rise to occasion and play very, very well and make some big shots and make some huge defensive plays that game. And it gave me confidence that so when we do play a Dallas Campbell or a Dallas Carter or Houston Washington, that they won't be afraid. They'll go out there and play to the best of their ability.
Because Levelland's a good team. Memorial's kind of coming on. You're going to get those guys push you a little bit, but you and Liberty, you've got the benefit of playing each other twice. Mm-hmm. That's going to get both of you ready because Parker said a little bit of the same thing last year. You guys beat them, but the other games they didn't necessarily get as much out of. And when they got to the playoffs, they weren't ready. I know you've said before you like having Liberty in there with you now because you've got a team that's just across town here that kind of gets that blood pressure going for you guys.
Their fan base is great. You know what I mean? They travel well.
Yes.
And so, you get to play in front of a lot of people. And that's when you get to see who the players are, who aren't. You know what I mean? You can sit here and talk about who's the best this and who's the best that, but what are they like in a pressure situation in a gym where it's standing room only? Are they still making those plays? Are they still making those defensive stops? Are they still making those jump shots? Then it's easy to make them when the expectation isn't very high. But in big games, who's making those plays? And I think my guys have proven that they can do that.
And you said this the other night too to my guy. You said that coaching against these young guys who know you and have watched you becomes a little bit more of a chess match. You have to coach. Sometimes you have to go into a game. I've always thought this about not just high school coaches, but coaches at every level. Coaches like you coach better in games that are tight. Mm-hmm. Not that you coach bad in the other ones, but you get just as engaged and locked in as your players do when it's just it's tough like that.
Yeah, I mean, every possession counts, and so you want to make sure that you're not losing any of them. At the same time, you want your kids out there having fun, playing free. You don't want them thinking. You want them doing what they naturally do. And so, but when you're dealing with high school kids, that can be hard sometimes, especially if the moment's big. So I try to tell our kids, never make the moment bigger than the game. It's always the same. So go out there and just do what you do best. Don't try to be what you're not in today's game because it's a bigger game. Just do what you do best.
We were talking about Shakur before the break, and I mentioned that he doesn't show much on his face. Now you probably see a little bit more when you get in the locker room, but when you don't have an older leader and he's that guy that steps in, how important is it to have that kind of that stone face, that even keeled guy that's leading the way for you?
He's vocal, man. I mean, he just hides it well. I mean, he's a very emotional player. I have to reel him in often. He got a technical foul hanging on the rim this past game, and I was like, man, just dunk it, get off the rim, And he probably could have gotten 5 or 10 this year because he gets emotional in that deal. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, he's a great leader for us. Our kids, they know that he's always out there trying to win the game and trying to play to win and play it the right way.
There's a lot worse problems to have as a coach than when you've got a couple of guys that can get up there and hang on the rim. That's a good. Not that you want the technical fouls, but if they're going to get one, that's not the worst way to get one.
Yeah.
You guys are at Big Spring. No, you're home against Big Spring.
At home against Big Spring.
You don't even have to leave town here for the next 8 or 9 days. That's a good chance for you guys to rest up and get ready. So that wraps us up in the Matador Fan Zone. We're going to come back right after this break in the Plainsville Fan Zone, talk to some Lady Plainsville basketball on 100.7 The Score.